What's going on, everybody? It is the Willie Ashford from the Black Culture Podcast. I know you're ready to get into this interview, but before you do,
make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube, Apple, Google, and Spotify at the Black Culture Podcast. And
also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Black Culture Podcast. Peace.
So, what are we toasting to today, Roosevelt?
So in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, we want to toast to increased awareness, more openness, people knowing that you're not in this fight alone, and that as the fight continues and people's journey continues, know that they do have a community out here that wants to embrace them and help them through their mental challenges.
All right, love it. I will drink to that.
Yes, sir. Roosevelt, right, so I think I got that same cup.
Oh, mine or his?
No, Roosevelt, I think I got that same cup.
Really?
Yeah.
That's dope. You should have brought it today, man. You should have brought it. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. You have created a safe space for those suffering or those who are wanting to become advocates for mental health, which is a huge thing on this podcast. We talk about it a lot, especially in the Black community, which is something to us is revolutionary because you don't hear a lot about it. Willie asked not that long ago, why don't men talk about what's going on? Why don't they talk about their mental health? Why don't they discuss these things? I feel like it's very important to be able to have these types of conversations. Want to know about your safe space, but before we jump into that, just for the audience purposes, give us a little bit about your backstory and how you got to this point where you created this safe space for everyone, or I should say anyone, to be able to come and get the healing that they need.
Well, so I guess kind of the safe space is actually me coming full circle, because upon graduation from Cleveland Hts High in 1993, I actually was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So instead of going away to college like everybody else did, I spent 2 months in the psych ward. So that's kind of where, my whole mental health journey actually began. It was a couple of stints in the psych ward. Actually, from then until now, spent 4 different occasions in the psych ward. Just because it's one of those things to where, you're in denial a lot of times when you get the diagnosis and you get on medications, because the medications make you feel a certain way. And so after a while you feel like, okay, I'm fine. I don't need this medication anymore. So I come off the medication, but not knowing that, after about 6 months, the medication is totally out of your system. And now you're kind of back at square one. So this happened about 3 different times. So I did end up relapsing and having to go back into a psych ward to get more medication back in my body, get things. So spending about like a 2-week stint to get back on track. It wasn't until the 4th time that I actually really came to my senses and said, okay, there's something wrong. You need to kind of, really deal with this. And, and there's something really going on. And, maybe this medication isn't that bad. I actually had a conversation with one of my dad's fraternity brothers. And he was saying that, if you have a heart disease, and you need to take this heart pill every day because it's going to help you to live, well, then you take that heart pill. So I kind of took that advice and said, okay, if I have this, quote unquote disease, then if this is going to help me, then I need to stay on this because it's going to help me, maintain and, and live the productive life that I currently live. So upon that, I The last stint I spent about 2 weeks, and then upon that I came to the church that I'm currently at, which is New Spirit Revival Center, and just by applying the Word of God to my life and just staying on the medication, I have not been back to the psych ward since, and that's been about maybe 14 or 15 years now.
Man, first question I have, man. One thing I noticed definitely, if you grew up with your mom or you live in a house with a woman, the first sign they feel that something is not right about their bodies or something is not right about their mind, they immediately go to the hospital. They immediately go get it checked out. Why do you think as men it takes us so long to be like, all right, you know what? I need to go get this checked out. I need to go get some help, because a lot of times I definitely know it has a lot to do with masculinity, but we feel like I'm cool. I can shake this. You know, men, we're known for being I'm cool. I can shake this type. But really, by us throwing it off and feeling like we can get over it, you could be just making matters worse. Why do you feel like guys, why do we have that in us we feel like we could, before we go, like getting help for us is the last resort? Like,
Um, Honestly, that wasn't the case for me, but to answer that question, I do know it's a part of how we're brought up as men. We're taught to be the rock, we're taught, show no weakness.
glad you went there. That's where I was getting at. Thank you.
So, I think that, as men, especially black men, we're taught, to be tough, men don't cry, don't show no type of emotion. So we hold a lot of stuff in, which, kind of speaks to mental illness and, a lot of trauma that we hold inside. And that's why a lot of us are suffering currently, because we hold so much in and we don't show this emotion and we don't deal with it publicly. So now we're just holding all of this stuff in. And
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Price with the Black Culture Podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to check out our channel. We're on YouTube, Apple, Google, and Spotify, where we talk about everything about the Black culture. And
Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Black Culture Podcast.
peace.
Peace.
it's actually, it's killing us on the inside. And, we're not telling anybody about it because we feel like, we can't go to anybody, because if we go to somebody and let them know, okay, you just soft or you weak, or, you just, you're a punk, you know what I mean? So we kind of hold this stuff in and not knowing that our brother, could be going through the same exact thing, but because both of us are trying to be tough and, show no emotion, neither one of us are getting the necessary help that we need.
And I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize that. They realize, mental health, to me, I think starts at a young age. Like you just said, it's programmed in you at a young age to, if you have an issue, if you have a problem, don't say anything. Like when you're younger, if you have a brother and a sister, if that girl falls, we're running to her, it's okay. You're gonna be all right. But if that boy falls, it's, hey man, suck it up, brush it off, you good. So
Right.
mental health is processed in the mind at a young age that, hey, if I got these feelings, if I hurt myself, man, I'm cool. I'm gonna brush it off. Do you
Right.
come across a lot of kids that you see that at a young age to where they're being processed and trained that, hey, hide your emotions, you're a boy. We don't do that here. That's not the way it is. And how do you start to kind of like try to get that in their mind that no, it's okay. You need to talk about these things. It's actually hurting you more to hold those things in.
Well, I actually have a 4-year-old son currently. So, well, we kind of, well, his at his school, they use emotions a lot, and so a lot of times we ask him, he's crying. Why are you crying? Like, why are you crying? You know what I mean? Like, so we try and get to the root and have him actually talk about what he's actually feeling and what he's going through. Of course, we still making them tough and everything like that, but at the same time, it's like, still express your emotions and express, what you're going through and who you are. But, expressing your emotions and crying is, it's all a part of the process.
Yeah, man. Let's go back a little bit, right? So you come from a somewhat famous family, right? Everybody knows your brother. What was life like growing up? Because, it's one thing to say, and back then we didn't have words, especially when I was at Heights, bipolar, mental health awareness. I didn't know anything about that until I got older. So what was it like growing up that you think led up into where you had to become aware of things that were going on with you? And then you know, became aware of things that were going on with other people. Like, look, I'm not the only one.
Well, like I said, this didn't happen honestly until after I graduated high school. So up until basically graduation, this didn't occur actually until summer after I graduated. So growing up, everything was cool. It was just, and I actually came to find out that a lot of people don't get actually diagnosed with bipolar until around about between the ages of like 18 and like 21. So growing up, everything was, was cool. We played basketball. We played sports, had family outings. So, nothing was any different than any other family. There was nothing, we really had to really be concerned about. It was more so after that year, I it's funny because a lot of people who don't really know our family would think that I'm Damon's younger brother, because after my senior year of high school, I would come back to the games, because the only time I would leave the house was, basically with my parents. And so I would come to all the high school games his junior and senior year and sit with my parents. So some people thought that I was kind of like his younger brother coming to the games, to watch him play. Why isn't he away in college and stuff like that? So, and I didn't really sit with anybody because I had like involuntary movements and stuff like that. And just, I was just really uncomfortable, a little schizophrenic, and just didn't feel comfortable being around, a lot of people and stuff like that. So it was really uncomfortable. Like I said, the only time I really left the house was, to kind of go to his games, go to doctor's appointments, and like, go grocery store. But a lot of times I was in the house for long periods of time. I would go through like days where I would be in the bed for like almost 16 hours a day. So it was really tough. Thinking back on, how things were during that period of time. Um, I actually didn't start college till like 4 years after high school, as a result of everything. But it was a challenge. But I think that it really wasn't something that was necessarily still talked about in the home, so to speak. But I think it was just one of those things that kind of, it was just there. You know what I mean? Like, I was dealing with what I was dealing with, and when we kind of just dealt with it as a family.
So you saying that throughout junior high, all 4 years at Heights, you was cool, but it was that summer after you graduate. What do you think? And I'm just trying to gain understanding.
Right.
What do you think was the trigger when it finally came out? Do you think it was not being able to go to school every day and be around your friends and family, and kind of being in this space where now I'm a grown man and I got to go figure it out? Or what? Like, I'm just trying to get a little bit of clarity.
So,
What do you think was the
so I,
trigger?
so I think the trigger was actually, so upon graduation, I was doing an internship with Emeralds at Bank of America, um, or Bank One or something like that at that time. I was studying a lot of different religions at the same time. At 18, I wanted to know the truths of the world. So I was studying, like, I was reading the Final Call. I was going to the Muslim mosque on Saturdays, going to church on Sundays. There's this book called Behold a Pale Horse that was really mind blowing at the time. And I think what it was is that I kind of opened up Pandora's box and took in too much information at one time and couldn't process it all at once at the young age of 18. And so not having anybody around to kind of help me process or go through what I was searching for caused me to kind of shut down, because what bipolar disorder is basically a chemical imbalance in your brain. And so I think that I just took in too much information at one time and tried to basically seek out something that I wasn't ready to seek out at that time.
It's funny you say that, because I look at our school system, and Willie is big on this, so I actually want him to chime in. Um, we, from age basically 3 when we start preschool, then kindergarten, then obviously first grade through 12th grade. Outside of the subjects that we study, we've got math, science, English, social studies, history, gym, whatever. Are we really developing our brains in our minds, the way that they need to be developed, opposed to just creating this standard that we think society is supposed to, like, we're supposed to measure up? Okay, you go to school, go to college, get a job, start a family, but who I am as a person, do you think that with the school system today that we're actually developing, especially as a young person, the mind of a young person to know who they are?
Um, I definitely think we're not, and I think it's definitely designed that way. Because I think the school system, is still kind of stuck in the industrial age, and we're in the information age. But a lot of people and a lot of things that's pushed is still, go to school, get a college degree, and get a job. Well, I mean, honestly, that's not the case anymore. Um, and there's so much information out there that I think that we don't take advantage of. And a lot of things that we were taught, weren't even really pertinent to what's going on in society. You know what I mean? Like, why weren't we taught things, you know, about entrepreneurship or financial literacy? We're basically taught how to be workers. What's really the purpose of a 5-year-old getting up so early in the morning to go to school? We're just really conditioning them to go to work. Um, so, me and my wife are both entrepreneurs. So, we have our own businesses. And so I see, the system, and I see the faults in the system. And then the fact that as Black people, we aren't, educated on our history, and, we're not taught about self. And so, and there's so much, why is Black history basically, why does it start with slavery for the most part? You know what I mean? Like, there's so much more, and we're so much, you know, bigger than that, here, especially here in America and abroad. And so I think that, you know, the school system definitely is flawed and definitely needs to be, kind of just taken a sledgehammer to and kind of revamped. But I mean, that's definitely another conversation.
Oh no, it's a conversation for right now. First off, I want to ask: have you been watching the Black Culture Podcast? Because you literally just touched about 3 episodes that we've had in the past. So I'm curious. I think you've been watching though. So you said something to me that was so profound. You said, what's the point? And every time I get on the topic of education, another guest brings up another topic that I didn't even think of. You said, what's the purpose of waking a 5-year-old up early in the morning to go to school? Think about that, right? And school, when most parents sign their kids up for school, they say, well, we need to get them around a lot of kids. We need to make sure they know how to act, and pretty much to make sure they'll be able to handle society, to be social. But yet we still have a lot of people in this world that have bad social skills. So are we really
Right.
sending our kids to school to get social skills? Or is that what they're telling us? That's what we're processing in mind to think, because
Right.
you have a lot of kids, a lot of adults that went to preschool, that went to school, that still have anxiety when they get around other people, that still have
Yeah.
bad social
Yeah.
skills, but
It,
yet
it,
you started them off young so they can develop that. And I always feel this way, like you said, it's so much more important stuff that we can be teaching our kids in school, but yet we ignore it. Like, you should know, like you said, social skills. If you think about this, you're in school from 5 years old to some people 18, but yet we get into the world and we're still lost. We still have to learn to adapt. How are we in school from 5 years old to 18, but yet when we get in the real world, we still have to learn to adapt to that world now, because you're out on your own. But so what
right.
was they really teaching us then? Like that's
Right.
that's why I don't get it. Alex. I just wanted to put that in there, but I just wanted to bring light to that. From 5 years old to 18, we're supposed to be in school to learn not just education but social skills. But yet, when we go into the real world, we have to readjust our minds to learn to adapt to that world again. How much
Right.
time was wasted there?
Right. Totally agree. Totally agree.
That is an excellent point, Willie. That is an excellent point, which I want to throw this at you. If you had a school, if you were able to structure how school should be based on your past experience and based on what we know, what would that look like?
So if I was to structure a school, um, it would definitely deal with financial literacy for sure. Um, History of self. Definitely, it would not just be Black History Month. American history would include all of, Americans. It wouldn't just be quote unquote American history where it's, so whitewashed. It would be a true representation of the American experience for all people. Um, to kind of, dispel some of the mistruths and lies, that have been told to us, because there's so much, that we don't know, or honestly, we do know, but we don't say. Um, the fact that, there, why were we never taught about a Black Wall Street growing up, or that, even when we're taught about it, it's portrayed that this was just this one town, but this was going on all over America. And the fact that everybody promoted segregation and not to promote racism, but it seems like once we tried to segregate, that's when everything became worse. Um, and, and it's like they always promote like we need this quote unquote white savior to save us, and that we can't do for self. And I feel like that's just it's definitely a misconception. I think it's the what a lot of the white liberals push. I mean, you see it in everything in Hollywood, to where, and even most these quote unquote, even like a movie like Harriet Tubman, there's this quote unquote white savior in that movie. So I mean, like, I think that it goes so deep, and it's so much that, I mean, it's like you would almost have to segregate the schools just because, everything's about mindset, you know what I mean? And I think that right now, our community as a whole, our mindsets needs to be retrained. Um, and the school system isn't doing it. They're not going to do it. And it's kind of almost up to us as, as parents and as communities to kind of go in. But the way the government is set up and these programs are just setting up is not helping, because they're trying to push this whole socialism and dependence on the government as the quote unquote savior now, that it's making people lazy and instead of wanting to do for self. And I think that we almost need just a whole school system or things set around mindset, and to really develop a different mindset, to where the mindset where we're taught how to think, how Willie talked about. I think that we think develop the brain, develop social skills, and just revamp this whole school system to where when you come out 18, you're a whole person. And you know how to think on your own. We actually, have different paths for people to really follow their passions, instead of saying, okay, you only can do this, 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 and this, or now you need to go find a job, or or you have to go to college. Well, what if, that person doesn't, excel in college? There's a great example, if you ever see like the picture and it has the different animals, and you know you can't you know you can't grade an elephant on trying to climb a tree. It's just not fair. So why do we try and train and and educate all kids the same? So I think we need to really figure out how do people learn first off, and then tailor make a path or a course, or a course way or pathway through school that caters to their learning style. So I mean, so it would be very complex, but that would be kind of where we have to start.
Man, this is perfect. I love having these types of discussion. So before I say what I want to say, I just want to throw it out there because I noticed the last few episodes I may come off as anti-education. I am not anti-education. Um, Education is very important, but where it falls at is, and this is mainly for our people. Once your child leaves that school, they're not teaching your child financial literacy about credit. So once your child leaves that school and is back home, it's up to the parents to teach those kids those things because they're not getting it in school. So I just want to put that out there. I'm not anti-education. Education is very important. I have 3 kids. They know I do not play about education. But the point I wanted to make was trades. I feel like once they took trade, because think about when they took trades out of school, to me that stopped a lot of black owned businesses,
Right.
because trades, you had plumbing, you had carpenting, you had CNC machining, you had welding. You can't tell me a 18-year-old or a 15-year-old, 16, whatever, won't be interested in doing that because hey, I graduated, I can't go to college, but I can get this. I can get certified in this and I can start my own business. I can go around the neighborhood and I can do Miss Jenkins' yard or this, that, and the third, landscaping. Once they took trades out of the schools, you immediately stopped black owned business because those were the businesses that growing up I saw a lot of black men in. My uncle did welding, he did carpentry. I
Right.
had uncles and cousins that did that. So to me, I think school is training our black kids just to go out and be workers for white people.
I agree.
That's, to me, that's really what it is. Go to college, get a job, and go work for this quote unquote $1 million company that's owned by white people. So now, if we take away if the ability for the black family to provide for themselves, if we take away those trades, they're not even thinking about that. Now, not to mention, once you took away those things in school, you took away purpose from so many kids. And when you take away purpose from the kids, they're going to convert to the streets. Now it's an issue. Now you want to bring up the black on black crime, the selling drugs. But once you took that out of our schools, a lot of those kids were dependent on that. They had nothing. They had nothing else to really like go to school for, because he's like, I know I'm not going to college. I can't take a trade. Well, I'm about to go out here and find another way to make money. So
Right.
it's so important. Once they took those things out of school and you force them to, if you don't get this grade, if you don't go here, you ain't doing nothing. And again, everything starts with the mind. If you plant in a young kid's mind, if they don't go to college, they're nothing. Once they realize they're not gonna go to college, they're gonna think what? They're nothing. They can't do nothing. So to me, school is training our black kids to go work for these white companies instead of having their own businesses.
I mean, like I totally agree. Like I said, it starts in the mind and its mindset. And at the end of the day, it comes down to survival. It's like, how am I going to eat? And once it goes into survival mode, they're going to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, man. And to that point, Willie, excellent point, by the way. Um, I thought about something. When you have a trade, you have a skill set and you put work in, you got something you can be proud of. If you just have a degree, and a lot of our young men who have degrees can't get jobs. Like, we're probably the highest group of unemployed individuals in this country as far as being black men. How can you be proud of that?
But throw
So
this out here too, Alex. If you have a trade, you get your own business. Who are you gonna hire to work for you?
your own people. Yep, absolutely. Nah, bro, facts. Facts. And so I wanna hit you with this. We're all black men, right? And we know the country we live in. When it comes to mental health, with all that's happened, and I think one of the biggest agendas, especially with black people in America, has been to break up the family, right? Break up that family structure. Definitely about removing the father from the household. When it comes to healing, what advice would you give, or what path do we need to take? Because a lot of us suffer from mental health, don't know it. Again, it's kind of a newer trend, I would say, within the past 5 to 10 years, to actually be aware of your quote unquote mental health. As black men, what steps do we need to take to begin to heal from all the trauma that has happened to us and have been passed down from generation to generation?
I mean, to start that off first, I feel like if you're black in America by default, you're dealing with some type of trauma. It's just in us. I mean, from what we see on TV. I mean, we're whether it's an agenda or not. The whole Black Lives Matter. Whether you're a proponent of it, whether you're not, however you feel about it, but just seeing these images on TV, that's going to cause some type of trauma. Um, as a black person and a black male, to see us being killed on TV. I mean, that's gonna rub you the wrong way, or do something to you mentally and internally. I think as far as healing, um, just starting to have a conversation. I mean, we just have to kind of man up, and we talk about being strong and tough, but you know, actually being able to talk about our emotions, that's like one of the strongest and toughest things you can actually do. And so I
Facts.
think we need to redefine what that looks like, and redefine. Um, we need to redefine, what a strong black male looks like, and what a healthy black male looks like. Because we're all about getting in the gym, trying to get muscles, and and be healthy and eat well. Now a lot of people are eating well, but we in being well, you need to be whole, and mental health is a part of that wholeness. So if you know once we add the mental aspect to the spiritual, the financial, the health, the wellness, the emotional, you gain that whole package. Now we can, as black males, become whole, and then as we seek to be whole, we can now start to have these conversations and know that, just because I'm talking about it, I'm not showing weakness, but I'm actually showing strength. Because prior to actually launching Heal the Culture, I would post stuff about being bipolar and what it meant to be bipolar and some of the challenges I would deal with on Facebook. And I would get a lot of comments and people saying, like, you really helped me, you must be really strong to be able to share that. I go through the same things. One young lady, she brought her niece to my shop, to actually talk about, because she had recently been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and now she's actually a part of my team. So, just speaking up about it and just coming forth about what we're dealing with actually helps other people. The Bible talks about, there being, power in your testimony. And so I feel like us as black men giving our testimony, having these conversations, speaking out on, what we're actually going through is actually going to help heal somebody else.
Let's get into Heal the Culture, because I think it's amazing the work that you're doing. And for the people who don't know, tell them what is Heal the Culture and the mission of Heal the Culture, and why it's an important safe space for us now.
Okay, so just to give you a little backstory on Heal the Culture, the way it came about. So God revealed the name actually initially, Heal the Culture, and to me, 2018. And ironically, it was during Mental Health Awareness Week, 2018, which is actually October, the first full week of October. Every year is Mental Health Awareness Week. And that's when he revealed the name, Heal the Culture, to me. Um, I previously, for 12 years, I had a Kingdom lifestyle brand called Covenant Army. And so initially, Heal the Culture was going to be the new tagline and kind of mission for that Kingdom lifestyle brand. So upon that following year, that summer, I met with my mentor in Dallas to meet with another clothing brand. And that weekend, I told myself, we kind of came to the point that, okay, Heal the Culture was going to be its own entity. So we thought that Heal the Culture might actually become its own clothing brand initially. So we said, okay, so we'll start a clothing brand dealing with mental health awareness. So we will have this lifestyle brand that will bring awareness to the mental health, the mental health fight, and the mental health situation. So fast forwarding to during the pandemic, we kind of transitioned from an actual clothing brand into now a social enterprise dealing with mental health awareness. So now what we're looking to do is create the safe space and curate the safe space that basically the purpose of it is to heal and empower people of color and to provide a safe space to hold healthy conversations surrounding mental health awareness. And so that's kind of where we're currently at with what we're doing. And these safe spaces include just different events that we're curating. So our first event was held March 27th. And I feel like that day was like the day I was reborn in the purpose. It felt like everything came full circle. I felt like, okay, me getting sick at 18 now made sense. A lot of times, we go through things, we go through traumatic experiences, and we wonder why, God, why me? And that day it made sense. Even had shed a thug tear. That day during the closing remarks. And the wife came and hugged me. I actually have a picture of it on my personal Instagram page. And I felt like that moment, I just felt all the emotion of, okay, I went through this my whole life, and now it all made sense, so to speak. Even, I've been doing Heal the Culture, but it really, the purpose of it really kind of came to fruition and came full circle and said, okay, this is what you were destined to do. I felt like, I used to think Covenant Army, having a, Christian clothing brand, trying to save people and evangelize using, apparel was my purpose, but that this was truly my purpose. And that was more so just a training ground or quote unquote boot camp, to get me prepared for what I was going to really truly do with this brand and this entity. So now we actually, like I said, we did our first event last in March. It was a brunch event. Went really well. We had a licensed therapist that came on, that she's on board, part of our team. And actually next month, we have a yoga session, a restorative yoga session with a yoga instructor. Her name is Dawn M. Rivers of a Daybreak Yoga Studio. And she's going to do a hour-long restorative yoga practice. And so we're just going to keep doing these events and holding these safe space experience just for healthy surrounding mental, build a community of Heal the Culture. We call them HTC champions, and heal together.
I have a question before I ask my question. I always thought about trying yoga, just because I'm a person that a lot of times I have a lot going on up here. So just to
Mhm.
try to relax my mind, do you recommend that?
Yeah, I've done it a few times before.
Okay.
It's very and honestly, I actually have another friend, and she's really we were just talking the other day, and she was saying how she's starting to practice, or she's been doing it for like about 10 years, but she's starting her own practice. And she is really into the how it relates to mental health and helps with mental health. And so me, her, and I are gonna probably do some things in the future. And actually, this session, I recommend you come June 5th. Um, and the session is kind of going to have meditation and other movements that are kind of centered around healing trauma and just relaxing the mind. And so I really would recommend that come in and participate.
Oh, for sure. We can talk about that after the show. I'm interested in that. But my
Okay.
question was, how do you feel like the importance of definitely, doing what you do now and going through having been going through some other things you have in your life, the importance of having a spouse, of having a supportive wife, someone that's with you, that can support you, because a lot of times you may need to lean on her. She may notice you going through some things that while you're in the healing process to help others, she'll have to step in and help to heal you. So just explain the importance of having, your wife with you.
I mean, my wife has been everything in the world to me. I call her the Rock. I call her, actually, her nickname is the Real Boss. 'Cause, I mean, we all know that we try to be the boss and the king and everything, but we know that the wife is the real boss and they hold down the fort. And she really does that for our family. She has really supported everything that I've ever done. She she actually currently does all the graphics for our social media page. Um, just I'm able to do the things I am able to do because financially she's able to keep our families stable, and I'm able to venture out and try and do the things that I'm trying to do in order until I'm able to get to financially where I need to get to be able to be the lead breadwinner in our household. So like I said, she's that rock in our family that I've been able to lean on when I need to. Um, you know, but it's like, we're a team. Her and Logan. My son's name is Logan. We're hashtag Team Stringer. Um, so we're a team, and together we make everything work. And it's a beautiful relationship. Not a lot of drama. We've been together 12 years now, going on 13, and I. It's, like the Bible says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and finds favor with the Lord. And I think a lot of people stop at finding a good thing, and they don't go on to finish that verse where it says, and favor with the Lord. And I really, know that I found favor with the Lord when I found her.
Hmm. So in Heal the Culture, do you find a lot of, and I'll just be blunt, do you find a lot of married couples, both experiencing mental health, have no one to talk to, have no one to lean on, not even each other? Have you found that throughout the time that you've been providing this safe space?
So like I said, we're still just getting started. Like I said, we only held one event. So
Well, okay. I shouldn't just say heal the culture, but I should say you haven't been married for 12 years, going on 13, and sort of working in this space, right? And being aware of it. Have you found that to be somewhat of a constant? Because I mean, within our community, there's just a lot of friction going back and forth with from black men, black women. A lot of us are still single, not even getting married. But then when we do get married, a lot of our marriages don't last. So do you find a lot of that as you sort of interact and mingle with couples or have interacted with couples throughout the years?
I guess it's a little different. I mean, I do see it in some, but then others not so much, just because I am I attend the church and I kind of stay like for the bulk of the 12 years of me running Covenant Army, I was in a lot of church circles. So a lot of the marriage unions that I did see were like kingdom inspired. So, Jesus was kind of the root and at the center of those relationships, and they were kingdom unions. So a lot of times in those relationships, there were younger people that I was around. So, and a lot of things is that what you're kind of taught to do is kind of to cover your spouse um, in your marriage, so that even if you're going through any type of friction, you leave that at home, or you leave that, and so when you come out and about, that's not something you put on display. So, and me, I'm kind of more of an introvert too, and I'm not really one to kind of dive into a lot of situations, and so I haven't come across it a lot. Um, I mean, I know it's out there. I mean, but for the most part, I'm kind of, you know, to myself a lot. I don't go looking for it, so it doesn't really come find me.
Let's talk about this event you got coming up on June 5th, right? It's going to involve yoga, and a few other things, correct? Can you tell us a little bit more about the event on June 5th?
Okay, so basically the event will be about a 2-hour event. There'll be a registration and process of be followed by like an hour long restorative yoga practice. And then the registration includes a boxed lunch where we'll have like a community building activity, to where we try and build community within the people, the attendees. Because one thing we're big on is building this community of people that can really start having these healthy conversations surrounding mental health. Um, so, and that should take about that should close the event out. We'll also be looking for vendors who want to participate and be a part of what we're doing. And so I think it should be a really, really great event. I'm excited about it. It almost, didn't happen, but we just pushed through and, found a way to make it happen. So I'm excited. Definitely we're encouraged all to come out. We have limited spaces available, but I definitely feel that, this can really help, just help you process some things, and just get some time away, some time to yourself, just becoming one with your body, and kind of just getting away from it all, because I think sometimes we just need that break. We go through so much, we deal with so much. I mean, coming off a pandemic, we've dealt with so much trauma, we dealt with so much change. I think that just we need to restore and revive and reset sometimes. And I think that this yoga session can aid in actually doing that.
So, could you share, could you share with us that, like, despite what you've been through, has there been a time where you've came across someone with a testimony that changed your life to even more, to where you thought you had your life changing moment, but was there a time where someone had a testimony or explained something to you, or that reached out to you, to where it changed your life, to like it took you to the next level? Like, you know what? I thought I was doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Now I got to take it up a notch.
Um, Somebody with a testimony. I mean, I think I'm one of the type of people that feels like you can learn from everybody. Um, but I have like mentors in my life that are kind of guiding me. I think that two of the biggest mentors are my pastors, Doctors Daryl and Belinda Scott of New Spirit Revival Center. Just applying the word that comes across the pulpit. It's life changing, because I know they're anointed. I know that they seek God's face on what, the word that they should preach. So that I know that they're kind of conduit and they're actually, kind of just vessels so that the things that God will want to instill in me and impart in me is coming out of their mouth through them. Because, anytime God wants to do a work in the earth, he has to use an individual on earth. He doesn't just come down and do, just from heaven and do what he's going to do. Like, when he wanted, to do something in the earth, he sent Jesus. So I feel like, okay, now he wants a kingdom individual in the mental health space. So now he, called me to create Heal the Culture. So I think that they're two of the biggest influencers. Just their testimony too. I mean, they've, from where they came from to where they are currently. They went from, you know, basically selling drugs to, you know, being in the White House, flying on, Air Force One. They were, President Donald Trump's spiritual advisors. He called them his pastors. And they're from like 105 and JF Kennedy area. So just to see that testimony and to see the types of things that they were able to accomplish, and the things that they're doing now, through that whole testimony of their life, as well as just my mentor. He, is a country boy from Alabama, and now actually holds the title of Lord Sam Oram because, he actually owns a territory in London. Um, I mean, he went to, school, graduated from FAMU, while doing his residency to be a neurosurgeon, um, left that left during his residency to become a neurosurgeon to go into network marketing and became a multimillionaire, and now owns his own multi-level marketing firm called One Voice Worldwide. So, and now the things that he's doing, and now he's on track to become a billionaire. I mean, these are the type of individuals that I'm, like watching, and they're, I talk to on a, pretty often. I talk to my mentor pretty much every single day. And there's other individuals who are currently helping me with Heal the Culture now. Very influential people. And it's always kind of been prophesied on me that I would be a wealthy individual. And now I see that by the type of individual that God has placed into my life, how that will eventually happen and how that's going to occur.
Man, you brought up the word mentor a lot, and that's something that we harp on this podcast. Explain like the importance or how important it is to see people achieving what you want to achieve. Definitely people that look like you, but the importance of having a mentor, having someone to help lead you, to help guide you, to because we all need help. We all need someone to sometimes walk with us and talk with us. Explain the importance of having people in your life like that.
Um, the importance of that, I mean, is invaluable. I mean, because they've been there, they've done that. You know what I mean? My mentor, Sam Oram, he from since I was 24, I'm now 46. Saw something in me, and took me under his wing. He says, God shows him when he has like visions, when he's in a room, God shows some certain people in color. The room will be black and white, but certain people show up in color. And I was actually one of the individuals on the day that he met me that showed up in color. And that's actually how he we came to be, really close. And now I'm like his little brother. And so, it's invaluable. Like I said, I too, see myself as becoming a Black billionaire. And not just for the money, but more so for the impact. He's all about empowerment of people. He has his own podcast, and he just began, and it's all about the empowerment of people. I'm about empowering people. The whole Healer culture is all about the empowerment of people. People as a whole. And so just having like-minded individuals that have been where you're trying to go or going where you're trying to go, it's just you can't buy that. You know what I mean? Like, that's something that some things, can't be taught. They have to be caught. And just being around these individuals, you kind of catch those things, just seeing their actions and the moves that they make.
Wow.
Wait. He said some things can't be taught. It has to be caught.
Clip. Yeah, man. I want to ask you one more question before we close out. And that's this. We live in a social media age, right? So how important, guys like us, you use it for Heal the Culture. We use it for our podcast, but there's so many other people that use it for airing problems, shaming other people, all the negative stuff. And if you absorb too much of that, then you can obviously get caught up in that, and that can affect your thinking. But how important, or I should say, what role does social media play when it comes to mental health in 2021?
I think the role it can play is it can cause a lot of anxiety, because a lot of people, they see other people, and what we're seeing is people's highlight reels. Nobody's, most people aren't showing their true, authentic journey to success. They're showing you the highlight reel, and they're making it look like they're an overnight success, and they didn't fall. They didn't have any downs. Look at me, I'm over here doing this. Look at me, I'm over here doing this. Look at all these orders we got. But they didn't show you, the time when, maybe, they had to decide what bill they was going to pay because they only had so much money. They defaulted on the loan, or something got repoed. So I think that, and by people not being authentic, I think that people who actually consume so much social media and want to be like these people, they're misled into thinking, okay, I have to be like this, I have to be like that, when they're not getting the full story. So it gives them a jaded and tainted view of what success truly is. And then I think it also kind of makes them think, it's easy because it should be like this, and they don't see the hard work or the grind. And so I think that, sometimes we need to kind of, I'm a big introvert, and I'm honestly trying to figure out a way to how to have the most impact and be on social media as little as possible. I know it's not practical, but I've always been an anomaly. And one thing I'm big on is that, why is such and such a guru? Well, people are quote unquote gurus because everybody they just seem to be the flavor of the month, or everybody's following what they're saying right now. So why can't you do something totally different and you become the guru or be the first one, or everybody follows what you're doing. So just because everybody's doing it and it works for them doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. And I was a big proponent of that, when I did my clothing brand, in 2007, when I started Covenant Army. I did what nobody else was doing. Everybody was wearing State Property, Rockaware, and Sean John. So I started basically the Christian version of all that and started Kingdom Streetwear brand, because at the time I had given my life totally to Jesus and still wanted to be fresh. But, I didn't want to wear these brands because they didn't represent my lifestyle anymore. So I feel like, you don't have to follow the trend or follow the crowd, but that you can be your own person. But I think that people need to understand that that can be the case and that is the case, and that to not get caught up in what you see so much.
Well said. And on that note, I want you to close us out. What's your message to the people?
I guess my message to the people would be to just be authentic. I'm really big on authenticity, and just communicate. Communication is everything. I think that if there was more communication, um, especially about what we're going through and what we're feeling, um, then we wouldn't have so many mental health issues. Mental health is centered around, I think, a lot of the trauma that we have is because we keep so much inside and we don't express how we feel. So I think if we just communicate and be authentic and be real and don't try and hide and put on a facade and hide behind a mask, then I think that a lot of the stuff that we actually deal with or have to deal with will be resolved. And, definitely, keep Jesus at the center of it all.
Roosevelt Stringer, Heal the Culture. How can the people reach you?
So you can find us on social media at Heal the Culture. We have a website, healtheculture.com. We're on Facebook as well. Everything Heal the Culture. And, personally, I have a personal page at Roosevelt Stringer. But yeah, like I said, we're just getting started. We're excited about, what God has in store for us. I really appreciate you guys, humbled to be even considered to be on, the Black Culture podcast. And it's all about divine timing. I feel like, we definitely met at a perfect time, and I'm excited to see, what you guys will be doing in the future. It definitely was a pleasure, definitely love the conversation. I had no idea how it would go, but I'm one of the I'm a big proponent on not preparing for a conversation or a speech, because I feel like it's better to be kind of led and just kind of let it flow and go, how the Holy Spirit would have it to be. And I'm just excited to see what God has in store for all of us.
It's interesting. We had Nobles on, what was that, last week?
Yeah,
We had him
last
on
week. Yeah.
last Friday. And so but he had, when we first spoke to him, he shot us your contact. And when you and I spoke, I could just feel the love, and we stayed in contact. But I told Willie, I said, bro, you're gonna like this one. I said, you're gonna really like this interview, man. It's
And
gonna
I
be a
did every
great,
moment,
great
man.
interview. Yeah, no, I mean, we're also honored and privileged to have been able to host you. These are the conversations that we need to have. We need to have more and more of them. We need to put them in our school system. We need to figure out a way, because so many of us are suffering and we don't even know it.
Right.
It's one thing to be able to go to the hospital and they can say, well, you have this condition, you have that condition. This ain't one of those things. You can just go to the hospital and somebody says, well, you're suffering from mental health. No, that's a process. And a lot of us is very deep and embedded into us. And it didn't come and create itself in 5 minutes. It ain't gonna go away in 5 minutes. It's a process. It's gonna take time. So salute to you, brother. All the great work that you're doing, man. Keep doing it. I'm definitely gonna be at that event June the 5th, man. And in any way we can support you, in any way we can continue your work on our end, let us know.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Willie, do you have anything, brother?
No, I'm good, man.
Well, it's been another one for the books, man. Classic interview, necessary interview, great conversation. Roosevelt Stringer, Heal the Culture. It's the Black Culture Podcast. Peace.
Thanks for checking out this episode of the Black Culture Podcast. If you haven't already,
be sure to smash that like button and also subscribe to our channel on YouTube, Apple, Google, and Spotify. And
also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Black Culture Podcast.
Peace.
Peace.